Exodus chapter 14. Adonai spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to Bnei Israel so that they turn back and encamp before Pi Hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. You are to camp by the sea, opposite Baal Zephon. Pharaoh will say concerning Bnei Israel, They are wandering aimlessly in the land. The wilderness has shut them in. I will harden Pharaoh's heart, so he will follow after them. Then I will be glorified over Pharaoh along with all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am Adonai. So they did so. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people, and they said, What is this we have done, that we let Israel go from serving us? So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 of the finest chariots, along with all other chariots of Egypt, and captains over them. Adonai hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so he pursued Bnei Israel, for Bnei Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued them with all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, as well as his charioteers and his army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea, beside Pi Hahiroth, opposite Baal Zephon. When Pharaoh drew near, Bnei Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were marching after them. So they were terrified, and Bnei Israel cried out to Adonai. They said to Moshe, Have you taken us away to die in the wilderness because there were no graves in Egypt? Why have you dealt this way with us to bring us out of Egypt? Did we not say to you in Egypt, Let us alone, so that we may serve the Egyptians? It was better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. But Moshe said to the people, Don't be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of Adonai, which he will perform for you today. You have seen the Egyptians today, but you will never see them again, ever. Adonai will fight for you while you hold your peace. Then Adonai said to Moshe, Why are you crying to me? Tell Bnei Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it. Then Bnei Israel will go into the midst of the sea on dry ground. Then behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they will go in after them, so that I will be glorified over Pharaoh and all his army, his chariots and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians will know that I am Adonai, when I have been glorified over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the angel of God, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. Also the pillar of cloud moved from in front and stood behind them. And so came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. There was a cloud and the darkness over here, yet it gave light by night over there. Neither one came near the other all night long. Then Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea. Adonai drove the sea back with a strong east wind throughout the night and turned the sea into dry land. So the waters were divided. Then Bnei Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, while the waters were like walls to them on their right and on their left. But the Egyptians pursued and went in after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now it came about during the morning watch that Adonai looked at the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and caused the army of the Egyptians to panic. He took off their chariot wheels and caused them to drive heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Get away from the presence of Israel, for Adonai fights for them against the Egyptians. Then Adonai said to Moshe, Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters come back upon the Egyptians over their chariots and their horsemen. So Moshe stretched out his hand over the waters, and the sea turned to its strength at the break of dawn. The Egyptians were fleeing from it, but Adonai overthrew them in the midst of the sea. The waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and the entire army of Pharaoh that went after them into the sea. Not one of them remained. But Bnei Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea. The waters were like the walls to them on their right hand and on their left. So Adonai saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. When Israel saw the great work that Adonai did over the Egyptians, the people feared Adonai, and they believed in Adonai and his servant Moshe. Chapter 15. Then Moshe and Bnei Israel sang this song to Adonai. I will sing to Adonai, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Adonai is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My father's God, I will exalt him. Adonai is a warrior. Adonai is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he has hurled into the sea, and his chosen captains have sunk into the sea of reeds. The deeps covered them. They sank to the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Adonai, is glorious in power. Your right hand, Adonai, dashes the enemy to pieces. In the greatness of your excellency, you overthrow those who resist you. You send forth your wrath. It consumes them as stubble. With the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. The flood stood upright as a heap. The deeps became firm ground in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall gorge on them. I will draw my sword. My hand will destroy them. You blew with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in mighty waters. Who is like you, Adonai, among the gods? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, awesome in praises, doing wonders? You stretched out your right hand. The earth swallowed them. You, in your loving kindness, led the people you have redeemed. You guided them in your strength to your holy habitation. When the peoples hear, they will tremble. Anguish will seize the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom are terrified. Trembling grips Moab's mighty men. All of Canaan's inhabitants will melt away. Terror and dread will fall on them. By the greatness of your arm they become still as a stone, till your people cross over, Adonai, till the people whom you purchased cross over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, the place, Adonai, that you have made for yourself to dwell in, the sanctuary, Adonai, which your hands have prepared. Adonai will reign forever and ever. For Pharaoh's horses with his chariots, his horsemen went into the sea. But Adonai brought the waters of the sea back over them. Yet Bnei Israel walked in the midst of the sea on dry ground. Then Miriam the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and with dancing, as Miriam sang to them, Sing to Adonai, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Then Moshe led Israel onward from the Sea of Reeds. They went out into the wilderness of Shur. But they traveled 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink from the waters because they were bitter. On account of this, it was called Marah. So the people complained to Moshe, saying, What are we going to drink? So he cried out to Adonai, and Adonai showed him a tree. When he threw it into the waters, they were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them. He said, If you diligently listen to the voice of Adonai your God, do what is right in his eyes, pay attention to its mitzvot, and keep all his decrees, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have put on the Egyptians, for I am Adonai who heals you. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the waters. Chapter 16. They journeyed on from Elim, and the entire community of Bnei Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after leaving the land of Egypt. But the whole congregation of Bnei Israel murmured against Moshe and Aaron in the wilderness. Bnei Israel said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of Adonai in the land of Egypt, when we sat by pots of meat, when we ate bread until we were full, but you have brought us into the wilderness to kill this entire congregation with hunger." Then Adonai said to Moshe, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. The people will go out and gather a day's portion every day, so that I can test them to find out whether they will walk according to my Torah or not." So on the sixth day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather day by day. So Moshe and Aaron said to all Bnei Israel in the evening, "You will know that Adonai has brought you out from the land of Egypt, and in the morning, then you will see the glory of Adonai, for he heard your complaining against him. What are we? You complain against us." Then Moshe said, "Adonai will give you meat to eat in the evening and enough bread to fill you in the morning. Since Adonai hears your complaints that you mutter against him, what are we? Your complaining is not against us, but against Adonai." Moshe said to Aaron, "Say to all the congregation of Bnei Israel, 'Come near before Adonai, because he has heard your complaining.'" Then as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of Bnei Israel, they looked toward the wilderness, and the glory of Adonai appeared in the cloud. Adonai spoke to Moshe, saying, "I have heard the complaining of Bnei Israel. Speak to them, saying, 'At dusk you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am Adonai your God.'" So when evening fell, quails came up and covered the camp. Moreover, in the morning there was a layer of dew all around the camp. Then the layer of dew was gone. On the surface of the desert was a thin flake-like frost, as fine as the frost on the ground. Then Bnei Israel saw it. They said one to another, "What is it?" For they did not know what it was. Then Moshe said to them, "It is the bread that Adonai has given you to eat. This is the word that Adonai has commanded. Every man is to gather according to his needs, an omer per person, according to the number of people per household. Each man is to take it for those who are in his tent." Bnei Israel did so, and some gathered more, some less. When they measured it with an omer, those who gathered more had nothing left over, and those that gathered less did not lack at all. Every man gathered according to his appetite. Also Moshe said to them, "Let no one save any of it until the morning." However, they did not listen to Moshe. Some of them preserved it until the morning, but it bred worms and rotted. So Moshe was angry with them. So they gathered it morning by morning, each man according to his needs, and as the sun became hot, it melted. On the sixth day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each individual. So all the leaders of the community came and informed Moshe. But he said to them, "This is what Adonai has said. Tomorrow is a Shabbat rest, a holy Shabbat to Adonai. Bake whatever you would bake and boil what you would boil. Store up for yourselves everything that remains to be kept until the morning." So they set it aside until the morning, just as Moshe instructed, and it did not rot, nor were there any worms. Then Moshe said, Eat that today, because today is a Shabbat to Adonai. Today you will not find it in the field. You are to gather it for 6 days, but the 7th day is the Shabbat, and there will be none. Yet on the 7th day some of the people went out to gather, and they found none. Adonai said to Moshe, "How long will you refuse to keep my mitzvot and my Torah? See, Adonai has given you the Shabbat. So on the 6th day he gives you the bread of 2 days. Let every man stay in his place, and let no man go out on the 7th day." So the people rested on the 7th day. The house of Israel named it manna. It was white like coriander seed, and tasted like wafers made with honey. Then Moshe said, "This is what Adonai has commanded. Let a full omer of it be kept throughout your generations. so that they may see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out from the land of Egypt. Moshe said to Aaron, take a jar and put a full omer of manna inside. Store it up before Adonai to be kept throughout your generations. Just as Adonai commanded Moshe, Aaron stored it up in front of the testimony to be preserved. Bnei Israel ate the manna for 40 years. They ate the manna until they came to an inhabited land. When they came to the borders of the land of Canaan, now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. Chapter 17. All the congregation of Bnei Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin in stages, according to the command of Adonai, and camped in Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. So the people quarreled with Moshe and said, give us water to drink. And Moshe said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test Adonai? But the people thirsted for water there, and they complained against Moshe and said, why have you brought us up out of Egypt to kill us with thirst along with our children and cattle? So Moshe cried out to Adonai, saying, what am I to do for these people? They are ready to stone me. Adonai said to Moshe, walk before the people and take of the elders of Israel with you, along with your staff with which you struck the river. Take it in your hand and go. Behold, I will stand before you there upon the rock in Horeb. You are to strike the rock, and water will come out of it so that the people can drink. Then Moshe did just as so in the eyes of the elders of Israel. The name of the place was called Massa and Meribah, because the quarreling of Bnei Israel, and because they tested Adonai, saying, is Adonai among us or not? Then the Amalekites came and fought with Israel at Rephidim. Moshe said to Joshua, choose men, go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moshe said and fought the Amalekites, while Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. When Moshe held up his hand, Israel prevailed, but when he let down his hand, the Amalekites prevailed. Moshe's hands grew heavy, so they took a stone, put it under him, and he sat down. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side, so his hands were steady until the sun went down. So Joshua overpowered the Amalekites and his army with the edge of the sword. Adonai said to Moshe, write this for a memorial in the book, and rehearse it in the hearing of Joshua, for I will utterly blot out the memory of the Amalekites from under heaven. Then Moshe built an altar and called the name of it Adonai Nitzi. Then he said, by the hand upon the throne of Adonai, Adonai will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.